Hey friends, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Timeless Invitation Suite. That is the number 14 foundational design on my website. And I just wanted to go over some ways that this is really a very customizable suite. All of them are, but this is, I feel like this one shows really how you can change so many different things in the invitation and the overall look of everything by just making a few different tweaks. So this is the main invitation card. This is the one that's featured on my website. It has this really pretty script font for the bride and groom's names, and then a little bit of a mix of that serif font for the rest of the text. We also have this alternate version where we can add a monogram. You see it is still that same font for the bride's name and most of the text here, but we've added a monogram and just adjusted this wording a little bit, taken out that little divider line and then added that monogram with the crest to the top of the invitation. So that's the main invitation part. The wording is completely flexible. You can also change the fonts. I have a version here where the bride chose to use a different script font and then she wanted to use something that was just a little more simple for the main text. That's another option, another way that you can customize it. All these versions right here that I'm showing are going to be in black and white mostly. You can change all the colors, and if you hang around till the end, I will show you some different color options that other brides have chosen for their invitation suite. So after this main invitation, I'm just going to show you how this design is featured on my website. So this is kind of a very formal version of it. It's tied up with this silk ribbon. It's shown, it's got a weekend's event card here, printed in letterpress as well. And we have a traditional RSVP card. And it just looks really lovely together here. This is also with that formal inner outer envelope set. So you have your mailing envelope that's going to have the mailing address and names of the guests and also the return address on the back flap. And then you open that up and you have your inner envelope that has the individual names of the guests. This one is also lined. You can see we've got that beautiful illustration of the main building at Notre Dame there. So this is the original version of that invitation suite. Set that there. Next, we have a customized version of it. We've switched this envelope out to a black envelope with some white ink printing on that. Really lovely. Open it up here and you'll see that we've taken that monogram that we showed you on this alternate version, and now we've printed that on the envelope liner instead of that venue illustration. So we have that monogrammed envelope liner. Here we're using a belly band instead of the ribbon. We've also added a wax seal with that couple's monogram. We still have this traditional RSVP card. This time we're using a black envelope just for a little bit more of a statement. And then we've also added in a welcome dinner insert, and that's printed in white on black paper. I really love the contrast of that black and that white. So you can see just with those couple little tweaks, these look almost like completely different invitations, but this is something that is all included in your order. Changing those colors, switching out the accessory embellishment pieces, the style of the envelope liner. Those are a couple really easy ways that you can make this suite look something completely different from the original, but still kind of fit in that family. So here's another option. This one does have a black envelope as well. No liner in this one. Now we've got a slightly different pattern on the belly band here, and we're not using that wax seal, just real traditional. We have the white RSVP envelope and that traditional mail-in RSVP card. Next up, we have this version. You'll see that monogram again. This is the design that has the monogram on it. And for this one, we've printed that on the back flap of the envelope for that return address. You open up this flap here, and we've got that all over floral pattern. So that's another different option you could do here. Taking a look at the invitation, we're still using that ribbon, but this time we've combined it with a wax seal. Just gives it kind of a really delicate, romantic look, and it's that raw edge ribbon for that organic feel there. This one, just grab another one. It's also an online RSVP versus that traditional mail-in RSVP. So it has the couple's website and it says that RSVP by date. And I like how it's got that little bit of flower around the edges here, and that ties in to the florals in that monogram, and then also the florals in this envelope liner. So that is another option. Here's one more version of that with that monogram on the envelope, that same envelope liner. This time we're using a gatefold, so we've kind of done a much larger version of this monogram here, and it's printed on this gatefold and then sealed up with that wax seal. I'm not going to open that one because I don't want to tear it, but if you were to open that up, you would see then inside you have your invitation. For this version, I've got this pattern printed on the inside of it. You could keep it blank, you could do a different pattern. It's totally up to you. You would also be able to use this pattern as the outside of your gatefold. Just imagine that as the outside of it, and then we would have this wax seal here to close that. So that is another option. And then one more assembled suite that I wanted to show you here is this design. We've got that traditional white envelope. Open it up. This time we're going to see we actually brought in some color here to this invitation suite. We use this really pretty painterly design, this floral pattern. It's got some pinks and some greens in it. This invitation suite is just sealed up with a unprinted vellum band. Makes it look a little bit softer, and we've also used a blush pink envelope for that RSVP card, just kind of soften everything up, but it is still using that black ink printing on the invitation. So again, here is one version, and then here is that original version. They are the same design, it's just adding different accessories, changing those colors up, switching out the envelope liner, and those are all changes that are included. For this ribbon and wax seal, I also wanted to show a few different options that we could do for that. So this is that same design. We're just using a slightly wider ribbon. This is a 1 1/4 inch silk ribbon versus that thinner ribbon. And then this thinner ribbon is also available with that woven edge. If you're not a fan of the frayed, the kind of more organic edge, it's also available with a woven edge. I also have done a version of this design with a vellum folder. This one has a white ink printing. It's an illustration of the Basilica of the Sacred Heart at Notre Dame, but we could do that with any design. You could do it with one of these patterns. You could do it with a floral. We could do it unprinted. You could put your monogram on there. It is all completely flexible. Now I want to show you a couple other ways. I already showed this one. This was a version where we switched out the fonts a little bit, but it's still that real simple design on that thick cotton paper. This one they chose to do one large details card that has information about the details, and then also wedding website RSVP, and we've got that little QR code on there so that the guests can easily scan that. Another version of this one, this time it is in pine green ink, it's still on that soft white paper, and we also did change up the font for the bride and groom's names. This version were printed on the bright white cotton paper, and it's in a gold foil stamping. They've also added an illustration to the top of this versus a monogram like you see in this version. So you would be able to swap out the monogram for an illustration or vice versa in any of the designs in the collection. And they also have a details card that kind of combines the information for the reception along with some details about how to RSVP on their website. Here's one more version. This one's in a really pretty blue on that bright white paper, and it also is finished with a deckled edge. That's another option. You can add edge finishes to any of these, whether that's a deckled edge, edge painting, die cut shapes. All of those are available for any of the invitations. And lastly, I just wanted to show what this would look like if we printed it on some different colored paper. So this is a matte gold letterpress on a blush pink paper, and then this is that black letterpress on that same blush pink paper. So you can see how just changing the color of the paper up and the ink kind of really changes up the look of the invitation, which is another thing that would be included. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this timeless invitation suite, and I hope it's given you some ideas of how you could customize your own wedding invitations and how everything is so flexible with my made-to-measure design process. If you're interested in learning more, please visit my website at www.banterandcharm.com.